Okay, good evening, everybody. Good evening, Oluwa Tosin. Hi, good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me this evening. Can everybody hear me? If you can hear me, please just say something in the comments. Good evening, Oluwatosin. If you can hear me, just say something in the comments. Can you hear me? If you can hear me, just say good evening, Mercy. How are you doing? How are we doing today? Oh, perfect. You can hear me. At least someone can hear me. Hello. Yes, okay, that's fine. How are we? Happy Sunday, happy weekend. How are we doing? Yes, okay, perfect. That's nice. How are we doing? How did your day go? For those who are already at home, how did your day go? Good evening, Ebun. Good evening. How did your day go? Trust you had a great day. Good evening, Ada. Trust you had a great day. So this evening we are talking about what recruiters, what they really want or what they look for. And we have a special guest today. She's online already. I'm just going to bring her to do this, and it's simple. We're talking about what recruiters, what they really want, what they are looking for. Are they looking for introduction? Tell us about yourself and tell us about your brand before we go into it.
Okay, thank you for that. So my name is Remy, and I'm one of the representatives for my project interview. At my project interview, what we majorly do is to help people land roles, and that is especially for those who have trained in management. We also help others who have we also help others who are looking at landing interviews within the NHS. We help them to tailor their applications, to teach them what to do, and that's basically it. So, majorly, our entire the program is set towards helping you get that interview, prep you towards interviewing, especially if you're in the project management field, and helping you to just build that confidence that you need in your interviews. So that's the summary of what we do. However, I do need to put it out there that we are not a placement company, so we don't do job placements, and we don't work with recruiters. So we go through the natural way of applications and tailoring your applications, getting you those interviews, prepping you for the interviews and the rest.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. Looking at today's topic, we're talking about what recruiters really look for. Like I was sharing with them before you joined, like someone told me that what they really want, that she has, what she's actually, her focus is her CV. Once you have a tailored CV, you are good to go. You get the job. You don't need anything. You don't need, just get make sure your CV is well, like it's good. So what are recruiters really looking for?
So talking specifically about the NHS,
Yeah.
one thing I want to put out there before I even go into what recruiters are looking for is with the NHS, right? There is no guarantee of interviews, right? You're getting interviews in the first place is dependent on a lot of factors, right? So it's not just your supporting statement, it's not just your CV. It's a whole thing, right? But one thing that can make your application strong and the strongest, competitive out there, because there is a lot of competition within the NHS. Sometimes we get hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of what do you call it, applications on roles that we expect that shouldn't even be popular, not to even talk of the ones that are
Popular.
that are
Yeah.
popular. Yeah. So Don't get discouraged if you've been applying and you've not gotten an interview. You will still get an interview. So with regards to what recruiters are looking for, within the NHS, one really important thing is the supporting statement, right? In fact, within some NHS roles, we don't really look at the we don't look at if your supporting statement is strong enough, right? If you can prove that you have the required experience that we're looking for, right, within your supporting statement, you should get called for an interview. However, you can't prove an experience that you don't have, right? So on your CV, if your CV says, for instance, for example, you're a healthcare assistant and you've been a healthcare assistant for many years, and you're trying to get into a business analyst role, for example, right? And you have healthcare assistant roles on your CV, and then you do a supporting statement that says, in your healthcare assistant role, you've done things that project managers do. You almost do not stand a chance, because you're out there competing against people who have had
The
exactly
experience, yeah.
that experience. But however, if you look at it the other way, if you have that experience on your CV that is relevant to that role you're applying for, when you begin to tailor your supporting statement, it can be tailored in a way that you'll be touching the point. You'll be able to give scenarios that are in relation to what exactly that particular role requests from you, right?
Yeah.
And one thing I do want to say is people should not be afraid to write their experience on their supporting statement. Don't limit it. Don't do a few lines and just leave it like that and think that's going to be enough. It's not enough. So we want to know about your and when I say we, I'm not speaking for the NHS, but as someone, I recruit in my role a lot. So we would typically look at things like talking about your experience, specifically talking about instances when you showed, go through the job description. The job description and the person specification will tell you exactly who they are looking for.
Mm-hmm.
So in your supporting statement, you need to be able to specifically show, or rather write instances where you have done the things that are requested in the person specification, right? So you don't just want to put some generic thing out there where you're just talking about something random. Oh, I've done this somewhere, I've done this somewhere. Anybody can say they've done
Yeah, anybody can say
anywhere,
it, yeah.
yes. But when you delve into how did you do it, why did you do it this way, what was the result? I'm not even talking about star format right now, but after doing it this way, what was the result of that thing you did? So if you craft your supporting statement that way, you will most likely land an interview, right? Now, with regards to the NHS, some people really feel that for every role, you have to tailor and tailor and tailor and tailor, right? It's not necessarily so. So there is a trick to it where you can use one supporting statement for multiple roles. And I'm just going to briefly touch on that. I won't go too in depth into it because it's a whole thing. But when you go through your job description and your person specification, it typically has, say for instance, as a project manager, you see things like stakeholder communication. You see it will touch on risk, it will touch on issue management, it will touch on post project evaluation, it will touch on some things. Now, out of five supporting what do you call it, person specification go through, about three of them will touch on those same things, right? That just shows that those are important things that are highly sought after within that particular job role, right? So that means that in every supporting statement you are creating, it should have those
Those things,
things. So if
yeah.
the supporting statement does not have those things, you're just wasting your time, because even if you apply for a role that doesn't have those things, it will be a plus to you.
Mm-hmm.
have it in your
Mm,
statement
mm,
so that exactly, I meet this requirement and I exceed this
requirement.
requirement, right? So those are the kind of things that you want to make sure that would populate your supporting statement, showing specific examples of when you've shown stakeholder communication. Right. So with regard to stakeholder communication, for example, you want to tell them about the type of stakeholders you've engaged with in the past, because you might be surprised that may be the exact type of stakeholders you will be engaging with in that role, right?
Narrow.
And it would resonate with the hiring manager when they are reading your supporting statement and they see that this person has actually worked with the same category of stakeholders, right? That's number one. Number two, say for instance, you've mentioned who the stakeholders were. You want to mention some of the documentations you've created. So you see, it's about going into detail. It's not about writing some shallow thing, right? So you want to talk about the particular stakeholders you've
Dealt
dealt with, the
with.
documentation that you've created to manage the stakeholders, technology or techniques that you've used to manage the stakeholders, right? As well as the results that you've gotten from managing these stakeholders that particular way,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that is just for stakeholder alone, right? And for instance, with something like stakeholder management, and when I say stakeholder management, you're not into project management. It just means customer, anybody who has an interest in the project or whatever you're working on, right? So for the stakeholder management bit, for instance, there are many aspects to it. So you want to make sure that if you're touching on stakeholder management, you are covering every aspect of stakeholder management.
It has to be detailed.
Exactly. It has to be detailed. So you have to be able to talk about the different categories of stakeholder in your supporting
Hmm.
statements. Talk about the end users, talk about your senior executives or your executive leadership. They are different. Talk about how you understand that there are different ways you communicate with this different group of stakeholders. Talk about, even the things that are not, what's the word? The things that don't seem uh,
Relevant.
too relevant. Yes, things like, for instance, ensuring that you are building a relationship with them outside of the office. You as a person, if you're applying and you're looking at it and you're thinking, oh, if I put it there, it might look somehow, not necessarily, right? It really depends on what would resonate with the person that is looking at your application, and you don't know what is going to resonate. So you want to make sure that you dot your I's and cross your
And
T's.
process. Yes.
Yes. So I would say typically those are the things you need to perfect when you're doing your supporting statement. And your supporting statement is about, if not 100%, it's about 80% what
What
would help you get
would
an
help you?
interview. However, like I said earlier on, if you do your supporting statement and you don't have the experience, your story is not going to make sense, right? Because there's been time when I've read some applications and you can tell that the person is just really trying to tailor it and it just doesn't make sense. In your healthcare assistant role is how it's unreasonable for you to say that you've done business analyst jobs. It doesn't really work
Yeah.
out that way. Yeah, so that's some of the highlights of the things you would want to put there. Then if you have a current relevant experience, I always say it's good practice to tailor your current role. So
Yeah.
in your, in the NHS, say for example, the track system, you would fill in your
Your
experience.
experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in your current role, you want to make sure that it's as close as possible to the responsibilities that you'll be partaking in the role you're applying
Oh,
for.
okay.
Don't, we all know that responsibilities in roles can differ. As a project manager in one company and a project manager in another company, they might not be doing the same thing,
Yeah.
right? Now, you're applying for a role where, say, for instance, it's just like the supporting statement. You're not doing something in this role, but you want to stick with you're trying to stick with the experience or rather the responsibility that you're actually doing. Your role is not going to work that way, right? Because what if what you're doing in your role is not what I want to do in the role you're coming for? So you have to think wide, right? Make sure that your current experiences or your current responsibilities embodies what a project manager would typically do in a project management role. I don't know if that makes sense. So those little things, pieces and bits and pieces are very important. I would also want to just quickly touch on your certifications. They are also good to have. The reason why they might invite someone else and not invite you, even though your application is good, could even be because of a particular type of certification that they have that you don't have. So little things like that matter, right? However, there's a lot of competition out there. You could you could have 100 applications coming for a role with maybe 50 good people, and in those 50, honestly, we can't interview everybody, right? You have to pick the top 10, and the top 10 might score the same things in their application.
So you still have to pick maybe just one person.
You have to pick like say 8. You have some in on reserve list for those who, for instance, though maybe they can't make it or something, and then the ones you actually now send the interview out to, right? So at the end of the day, something little might be what would just tip you over into you're invited for an interview. What do you call it, phase. There's nothing you can do 100% that is going to 100% guarantee you an interview. It really depends on a lot of factors, including the hiring manager.
Is there luck involved?
Yes, I would say there's a lot of luck. However, it is also good practice to call I don't know, sometimes they might not disclose that to you, sometimes they might, but it's good practice to call the hiring manager also and ask if there's somebody that's already doing the job. Because sometimes there is already somebody who's already doing the job that they just, have in mind to, it doesn't mean that if you're not good, they will not hire you, right? But what I'm saying is that is already in the role doing a job. So you want to make sure that is not there, and the role is actually open to people.
Okay.
So yeah, there's a bit of luck. Your hiring manager might just be in a good mood. Your hiring manager could be shortlisting on a day that they've had very, very bad, and they just look at you, I'm like, what's
this? And they just like
exactly.
And if you come in and maybe on the day that in a good mood, everything is like, wow,
Yeah. I would also say from experience that you want to get in your application as soon as possible, right? You don't want to wait till the job is almost closing and then be the lag, because it's as the application comes in, it doesn't scatter. So it's as the application comes in that we're going through it, right? So by the time you've checked, for instance, there was this role, we had over 500 plus applications.
Wow.
It was out of this world. So you can imagine by the time you've gone through, and we have to go through everything. There is no bias, there is nothing. We have to go through everything. Everybody's equal, So imagine somebody has gone through, maybe you're like 480 and that sort of thing. So you just want to get in your application as quickly as possible and make it good enough, right?
Wow.
ChatGPT, right?
I need to adjust my seat for this.
So a lot of people use ChatGPT. I'm not saying it's bad, right? It's not bad. Some organizations are against it within the NHS. They're not really receptive towards it. Some are, like where I work, for instance, we are open to it, right? But it's supposed to enhance your application. So to make it everything. You're not supposed to use ChatGPT to create the experience you have, or it's supposed to make it better. It's supposed to help you arrange your application so that it makes sense. But however, I've seen that with a lot of, and I'm saying it's Nigerians in particular. It's not just Nigerians, right? But because obviously we're Nigerians, it's I don't know. We
overdo things.
Copy and paste. You would see some applications come in and you can see the ChatGPT-ness in the application. It might be good, but because that it's fake, it's artificial. You don't really pay as much attention. It takes you're not impressed, because sometimes the things that they're even saying, that this person has not even done it, that sort of thing. So I just want to say, people should add their own touch to, even if you use ChatGPT, add your own touch to it, add your own human uniqueness to it, just so that when, if I'm, say for instance, reading through it,
someone
I
actually wrote
can relate. Yes, we remove the Z's, remove the dashes, remove all those things that make it seem very automated and AI-ish. Some people even copy I will generate the the first bit that ChatGPT brings. I will say, okay, I will now generate it for you. I'll make sure I tailor the copy and paste it there like that.
Oh my God, like
Meaning,
for real?
yes, meaning that they do not even go through it. Some people will copy an old application that they've used before. They will not even see whether it even matches what they are. So it's a lot. It's a lot. So you just want to make sure that you put in the effort and you know present yourself as best as you can in your applications. Yeah.
Okay, basically, number one is not just about your CV.
Yeah.
Yeah, from this slide, like I understand that it's not about your CV. First, it's about your personal statement, even before the certifications, right? Yeah, that's nice. So, um, do you guys? Of course, I know you guys offer these things. You put in applications for people. So, how does it work for people who are watching and they would like to, reach out and all?
So with regards to what we do, we have two major services, right? The first one is the NHS application service, but rather supporting statement service, right? And what we do is just to help you tailor your supporting statement so that it covers what recruiters are really looking for in that particular role. In that role, not any role. You can't use something for something else. But if you know that you are, like, for instance, you have some sort of experience that is related to what you are applying for, the way we craft the supporting statement will give you the best chances possible. Have a lot of testimonies I can't even count, right? So it would help you tailor your own supporting statement so that you can then use it to apply for multiple roles. And then we help you do the first application alone. So the first application is just because we want to tailor the application itself, including your current responsibilities, like I earlier spoke about, just so that you've touched on everything that you need to touch on. You've dotted your I's, you've crossed your T's, and everything is set, right? And then the second one, where we actually do applications for people, is the other program that I said is for trained project managers. So the application bit comes as part of the program. So with that program, it's about training you to understand what, especially if you've already trained before, right? We're taking you from the theory aspect of things in project management now into the real life aspect of it, what really happens in real life. Because one thing people don't seem to know is that these things differ, right? What you're doing in theory is different from what happens
The
in
real thing.
projects could go wrong at any point in time, right? So you need to be able to explain it. It's all about, in your interview, they will ask you about a time, they'll ask you to tell your stories, they will not ask you to define things, right? So we're prepping you in such a way that you are prepared to tell your story, right? And because you've gone through the 4 weeks, you've gone through the trainings, the preps, you know what your stories are. You then do a mock interview that you have to pass, and then after you pass the mock interview, you can then go into the next stage of the program where we begin applications for you, right? And like I said, it's not a placement company. We don't guarantee jobs, because I mean, if I just said it now, that even your interview invite is not is not guaranteed, right? But we will then begin to apply for you after you've passed your mock interview and everything, and then we get you these interviews as fast as we can. We don't have control over that, We apply for you until you get certain amount of interviews, and then we prep you towards going for the interviews. At that point in time, that's the best we can do. We've prepped you, we've gotten you the interviews. The rest is now up to you as a person to go into those interviews and actually get the job. Right. So those are our two main services for now. And it's just the other service that covers applications. We don't do applications for the first one, except the first application that helps you. So going forward, if you're not lazy, all you've got to do is go onto your NHS website, copy it automatically generates, or what do you call it? Populates the form. So you populate it with the application that we've done, and then you paste the supporting statement in the supporting statement bit, and then you submit.
Wow.
And that, so it's easy. It takes about 1 or 2 minutes to submit an NHS application that would typically take you forever, right? However, NHS interfaces differ. Some organizations, their interface is not the same as the one where you populate. You have to explain each person's specification and essential requirements, right? You have to tell them how you meet this requirement. So even those ones, it's best. I know it can be tiring, but you do it very well, because it is that essential requirement that they will use to shortlist you. Right. So if you don't explain yourself, including the first, because even with the essential requirement, it always also even talks about your qualification, education. How do you meet this requirement? Some people will just say, "Oh, I have a master's." I have a master's is not enough. How does your master's help this role that you're applying for? You need to
explain it.
Need to explain it. Don't just say I have master's. It's never enough. Whether you explain it or not, if you don't look at it this way, for some people, not explaining it might be okay. For some people, explaining it is what they want. So if you explain it, right, either ways it goes, yes, you're scaling through. That's it. So you don't just want to leave it as
chance,
as just by chance. But people are lazy. I won't lie to you. People are really lazy. Feeling that thing it's not easy. It's not easy at all.
Yeah.
So,
okay. What of someone, for instance, no UK experience? Can the person still put up applications, apply to NHS with no UK? Maybe, okay, like for instance, the person is a trained project manager from Nigeria, and here in the UK, the person has been doing like regular jobs, not project manager, and the person wants to go back into the field, the project manager. Can the person still put up application? Is there any chance for the person, knowing fully well that there is no UK experience at the moment?
to be honest with you, to be honest and transparent, your chances are a bit slimmer. They would prioritize those who have experience in the UK to you, who doesn't. It doesn't mean you don't stand a chance at all. If God willing, the recruiter is happy, there are no other strong applications, everybody would just decided to be mad, with the applications, and yours is the best, then why not, right? But like I said, honestly speaking, with the kind of what do you call it? With the kind of competition, the competition is out of the you have no idea. Especially within the NHS, competition is out of this world. And it's not even, I'm not even talking about top project management, I'm talking about even administrator roles and small roles that you don't expect that people will rush into. Roles of 8 months, 5 months fixed term contracts, they will just troop in, So you don't have that UK experience. And it's not just Nigerians. Nigerians are enough. There's other people who are also trying to get in, and all that. So your chances are slim, but I would say it's better not to give up. If you don't put in your application, you would not know whether did anybody call you. Yes. So you want to exhaust. I always say it, even when we do your supporting seminar, we always tell you want to exhaust all rules as much. Finish it. Know that, okay, I've done my part. If they don't call me, well, there's nothing else I can do. But if you apply for 1, 2, 3 roles and you say, oh, I'm tired, I've applied, your chances are really, really, really slim. Even the ones that have experience, the chances are still slim. if your application is not strong enough,
Yeah.
talk of you that you don't have the UK
Experience.
experience. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much. I don't know. I want us to take questions. How many
No, no,
questions?
fine. That's fine.
Um,
Yeah.
so if you have any question regarding what we have discussed so far, please ask your question. Any question, please ask your questions. Now don't send them to my DM. She's here now. Let's bombard her with questions. Let's ask questions. If you have questions, ask your question as regards what we've discussed so far, applications, NHS application and all that. So if you have questions, just drop your questions. If you have questions, ask your question now. If you have, I'm trying to, if you have questions, please drop your question. If you have question, please drop your question. Okay. Is it possible to apply for these jobs from outside the UK?
Well, yes. The NHS, if in particular, is open to as many people as possible. And one thing I do want to tell you is that the NHS is a place where you actually have the opportunity, and that's because there's no bias. We don't see the names of the people. When an application comes, I cannot see the name of the person and say, "Oh, this person is Olatunji. I want to favor." There's nothing like that. Right, so they come in as numbers, and we judge you based on your application alone, right? So wherever you're applying from, it's absolutely fine. You can apply out from the outside of the UK if you want.
Okay, someone just asked, what can someone without any UK experience do to have an edge? Are there volunteer or intern opportunities to gain experience?
Yes, you can. You can do internships, you can do volunteer roles, but I would not be, I mean, I'll be sincere with you, they are not really strong enough because they're not paid roles like that, and you probably only do them for a couple of months, right? So if we go through, or rather, if go through your application, and you're saying, oh, you've done this, you've done this, you've done this, and I see that you've only done it in 2 months in a volunteer role, I will just know that something is fishy. Something's up. So I'm not saying it's an advantage. Those things just boost your chances. Also do certifications as much as you can, the ones that are relevant to the role you're applying for, have them. Those will also help you, but without concrete experience, you're just basically still trying, but you don't know the one that's gonna fall in as an interview in the first at that time.
Okay, I have this one here. I have data analyst interview with the NHS and no feedback even after sending several mails. That has been discouraging. Could there be a reason?
um and it has the person done the interview
Yeah,
already?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, so if the person has done the interview and there's no feedback, I don't think you should worry. If you've gotten the job, they will
They'll
call you
call
to tell
you.
like the next day, so that someone doesn't snatch you away. So if you've not gotten feedback, probably
Okay,
didn't get.
okay. She said she has done the interview. I mean, the I did. Okay, I did not get the job and requested for feedback of
Okay,
my
but no
interview,
response.
but no response.
There's
Then,
no.
like, can you actually request
Oh,
for feedback?
yeah. You're supposed to be. In fact, you're entitled to
Oh, really?
clear feedback. You are, but to be honest, some people just can't be bothered to,
Of course. I
you
mean, you
especially when
need
you didn't
to
get
do the job.
it. It's just sometimes you're lucky the recruiter or whoever interviewed you will call you and give you detailed feedback, with every question, how you answered it, how you should have answered the words that you said. Sometimes it's just crickets. So yeah, the highest thing you can do, if you send mails, if you have the number of the hiring manager, you can just call them randomly and ask for specific feedback. Or I really don't think you should. You should bother yourself that much.
But maybe I don't know. This is me seeing it from my own. Maybe if you get feedback, if you ask, and maybe to help you in your next interview. I don't know
Yeah,
if
but if you're
it
not
works that
willing to give it, then what do you do?
way.
Right. There's really nothing. If you send tons and tons of mails, they're not responding, the highest other thing you can do is to try and call
The hiring
the yeah, the
manager.
hiring manager. If you do that and they don't still respond, there's really nothing you can do. You just got to move on, right, and make it better.
Yeah. Okay. So I don't think there's any more question. Uh, uh, I don't think. If you have question, just drop your question. It does help subsequent interviews. That's why I ask. Yeah. Yeah. Sure. Subsequent interview. That's if you get it though. You like she said, you can. If they say they are not giving you or no one is taking your calls or replying to you, there's nothing you can do.
They've probably moved on.
They've moved on, right?
They've probably moved on. The recruitment process is tedious. So as
Mm-hmm.
much as you are looking at it from your own point of view, where you want feedback,
Then they
the
have
they're
work
like,
to.
I have so many things to do. So
I get.
yeah, sorry about that.
Okay. I think that's all for now. That's all. Do you still have anything to say? Anything to add?
Not really. What I just want to say is, don't be discouraged if you've been applying and you're not getting. It could be anything, especially when you are absolutely sure that your supporting statement is concrete enough, right? If you're sure that your supporting statement is concrete enough, and you have the adequate experience in that role, especially in the UK, and you have some certifications to back that up. There's no, it's not you, it's not you. It could just be that it didn't come through. Even we, as good as we are with applying, tailoring the supporting statement, it's not like with every job you apply for you will get an interview. It's not possible. Even when we apply for jobs on behalf of our candidates, some of them are rejected, some of them fall into interviews, right? So yeah, don't be discouraged. Just keep on with the applications. It can be quite tedious, but you want to keep on with it. You don't know the one that's gonna fall out. It's just like even in your interview itself, right? You just have to be the best out of the rest. You don't have to be perfect. You can't be perfect. You just need to be the best out of everybody that they've interviewed. So if you're lucky and all the people they've interviewed are not good, and your own not good might be the better one that they would take. So the key is to not give up.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, I see questions coming. So if you have questions, reach out to her, my project interview. Just send a DM. For those talk asking for personal statement, yes, they do all of that. Just send a DM to them, my project interview, and they'll pick it up from there. If you have questions, you want them to help you with your personal statement, with your applications or not, just send a DM to my project interview. They will pick it up from there. Um, I think that's all.
I just want to quickly add, somebody said, please, is it possible to be overqualified
Qualified for a role.
for a role and this leads to you being rejected? No. Mm-mm. They don't really,
Are
it's
you
not really a thing here.
are you serious? Someone I remember someone told me, I can't remember the role, but someone told me something like this, that they said she's overqualified. They didn't take her.
In the
I'm
NHS,
I'm not sure if it's NHS. I think they said they don't want you or underpay her or something. I'm not so sure if it's the NHS. I'm not so sure, but I know I heard something like you are overqualified. Yeah.
so I mean, specifically within the NHS, right? It's not even something that is allowed. It's not right. Within the NHS, they're all for fairness and trying to be as unbiased as possible, right? So if you are qualified or over, why would we not want somebody that can even do better? Why would we be looking for less when we can get more?
Okay.
That's I feel like, sorry to say, but I feel like that's a Nigerian thing,
It's not
So
possible within the
no,
NHS, right?
it's not. Well, I wouldn't think that's, yeah, that should happen within the NHS. However, outside of the NHS, if that happens, I don't think you should bother yourself. Sometimes, remember that I said it's good practice to call the hiring manager to ask if there's somebody already doing the role they have in mind already, right? Because like I said, many factors. They could even have an internal person, right, who they're really looking at. It happens, right? So don't let that. Sometimes they just need to give you feedback. It's not. I've had one person give me feedback some time ago, and the person's feedback was I used a particular word that seemed somehow that how I can't remember, how did the person say, and I was so concerned about it. I went to even ask my manager at that time that somebody said I used this word, and he was like, don't mind the person. The person just wanted to say something, and the word was suggested. So it might not even necessarily be that that's the reason, but they do have to give you feedback. So don't have sleepless nights over it. An advice, right, for everybody here who's trying to get a job. If one doesn't work out, we move on as fast as you should move on. Don't kill yourself dying and not sleeping because of one role that didn't work out. Quickly move on to the next one. Quickly move on to the next one. The next one might be the one for you. You don't wanna spend too much time worrying over, that's it. One thing I do want to say, now I'm even leaving the application bit of things. I just want to, because of this overqualification, I'm assuming that stemmed from them going for the interview and all that, right? Record your interview. So you want to make it a habit to record your interview. Nobody likes hearing themselves. It can sound embarrassing, but who cares? You're trying to be better, isn't it? Right? So try and record your interview. That way, sometimes you think you're saying things that make sense, but you're not making sense. So when you listen to it, even you will be able to
you yourself,
you
you tell yourself,
forget feedback from them. You will know that what did I go there and say?
And you will know that I went there to embarrass myself.
Exactly. Because in an interview, it can feel sometimes, with all the tension and everything, it can feel like you're high. You don't remember what is going on in the interview. So get into the habit of recording your interview so that you're not dependent on those people's feedback alone.
Yeah, it's okay. So thank you so much. Thank you very much. So like I said, if you have questions, send a DM to my project interview. If you want them to help with your personal statements, just send a DM to them, follow them on Instagram and send a DM, and they'll pick it up from there. So we have come to the end of today's live. Do you have anything else to say?
No, I don't.
Okay. Thank you so much for this. Thank you so much. So that's
Thank you very
all
much
for
for having
now.
me.
Uh, thank you so much. Bye.
Have a good day. Bye.
Bye, you too. Bye.